How's it going, guys? It's Mr. Lone Wolf, and today I've had to get Science Loaf out. How can you tell he's Science Loaf? He's got his white lab coat on. Yeah, I wanted to test this Derry 15C special thing, whatever it's called. I just find, obviously it's one of the trucks that's with this new phase. I want to use it, I want to like it, I've tried to like it, I just think it's horrifically slow. So I've ended up coming back to Burning Mill. I've got a couple of different trucks, all that have got like the advanced special gearbox, and I'm going to do a lap of the Burning Mill track. Just, I don't know, I was kind of trying to figure out how much of it is in my head. I mean, to a degree, I already kind of know it's not in my head fully, because this thing is just slow. I can tell from like when I do missions just how long it takes, not how long it takes to edit the video, but how long the video is for the rough size of the mission. Yeah, so I've brought this along on some other trucks. What else have we got? The Zix, Dan, Bruce, a Kolob, the flat face one, and then the Azov Antarctic as well, the articulated thing. Yeah, and for some weird, stupid reason, mind-boggling reason, with this track on Burning Mill, the start of to do like a fast lap is sort of in the pit lane off to the side of the track, and then you've got to drive through some pretty boggy, crappy mud to even start the lap. At least it kind of doesn't start it until you cross the finish line. In theory, you could even, if you really wanted to get a fast lap, kind of get a little bit of a running start on the finish line, or start line, or whatever. Yeah, so, I mean, I'll leave the full lap of this in. Obviously, that's the thing when you're making a video like this. It's a bit tricky in a way to... It's like, what do you do? There's a fine line between testing out the vehicles to see which is quickest, but then also this video is inherently going to be 6 slow vehicles doing a lap of the same track 6 times uneventfully slowly. So it's kind of a bit of an iffy video to make. And then again, as I've said before, the nature of this game, like with the physics and all the rest of it, the way like it slows you down and the ground's deformable and all sorts, you can do 2 laps of the same thing in the same truck and get different times. Like a perfect prime example was that video I did the other day, where I had to deliver those consumables and 3 small pipes to a location on Burn Forest. I was in the Paystar 5600, and near the end I did 3 attempts from like where it last saved to the finish. The first one I rolled, the second one I ran out of fuel, and the third one I made it with, like, you know, 15-20 fuel left over or whatever. So it can vary quite a lot from like time to time. So then I was sort of thinking, you know, where would I take these trucks to actually get something that's kind of easy to average out? And yeah, long story short, it was like this Burning Mill track lap thing sort of works out, because for the most part the ground isn't really like boggy mud, it's more like compacted dirt ground, so you get a bit of pace going, and there's the odd like little muddy patch within the track that sort of helps separate the better stuff from the worst stuff and so on. And yeah, I suppose it works out quite well. To be fair, it doesn't really highlight where this vehicle seems to be slow. There's a bit of an odd bit there where the back end keeps trying to overtake the front end. I mean, you can just tell from that as well, like the jump's barely there. The biggest thing I find with this truck, if you're going down the road or even compacted dirt and you get up into 5th gear and you're ticking along, it as near as makes no difference goes about the same speed as the other vehicles I'll be testing. Dan, Bruce, the Kolob, the Azov Antarctic, that's actually like not got a bad pace to it. But yeah, it's when you hit anything like the muddy terrain and all that, that's when this vehicle just seems to get extra slowed down, and it really does add up after a while. I did what was the mission called? Lost Cargo, and I started it the other day. I kind of stopped halfway through because I was running out of time, and I did it with this truck, and just the drive from like the Albany River garage alone to the gateway, it's like the original gateway on the map, not the one that's just like the main road to the top of the map. Yeah, it was pretty noticeably like quite a long distance and quite a long time to get the footage and all the rest of it. I then attempted sort of to do the mission again, at least that first drive from the garage to the gateway, in a Dan, and that did it just so much quicker. Yeah, so this vehicle ended up setting a time of 2:50, which I don't really know yet because it was the first vehicle I took around, but I got a bronze medal for it, so clearly it's slower than what the game would consider like a pretty decent fast time by trucks in this game. Next up then was the Zix, and like I say, I'm not gonna. There's no point in just leaving the footage of like all 6 laps because it's a little bit slow and uneventful, like I said. But to give us a rough idea of the times, this ended up actually setting a pretty good time, 2:34. So that's 16 seconds quicker, and you know that's only it's a less than a 3-minute track, and it's already shaved 16 seconds off. So that gives you some idea. Next up is Bruce. I wouldn't really rank Bruce as like a rapid truck anyway. I sort of feel in the right situation Bruce is great because he's got good grip off-road and all the rest of it, so where some vehicles do go like extra slow, he kind of keeps a decent-ish pace. But yeah, I wouldn't really be taking Bruce out for like trying to set a lap record on, you know, just roads and pretty easy terrain. I think it bumped its chin a little bit over there. I did raise the suspension for the Derry Special. I may not have on these, but again, it wasn't really. Doesn't have to be like insane. It was just giving me a rough idea. The Bruce was actually ended up being 250 as well. So at that point, I was like, well, that's interesting because again, not that I'd say Bruce is rapid, but I thought Bruce would have got a little bit of a quicker time compared to the Derry. But like I said, I'm not sure in the scheme of things if this track is the best to highlight where it slows down. I got a bit of footage at the end of the video that just also sort of helps show pretty well what the situation is. Next one up was the Colob. Going around, it was all going well really. I just caught my chin there. I do believe as well I've not lifted the suspension on this. I ended up cutting around this muddy bit just to try and sort of make up for the fact. The Colob, to be fair, its front chassis plate thing, like skid plate, is a bit of a pain in the arse. It does catch quite a lot. And this ended up, was it like a 248 or 249? I think it would have got probably a 240-ish if I didn't catch that skid plate. So it's still definitely quicker than the Derry Special. The Derry Special still got like the slowest time so far. Yeah, next up is Dan, and I always feel like Dan's actually got a pretty decent pace to him, considering as well for all these trucks. I believe they're all on muds. I even put some of them on muds instead of the chain because I know stuff like the Colob doesn't have chained. Yeah, and this one ended up getting like, was it 246, which is weird. It felt a lot quicker than that. Even just like when you're watching it, it feels like it's getting a nice move on, but it was yeah, a little bit slower than I thought. And then this one I kind of threw in at the end because I don't know, it's got the articulated steering, which I'm not a fan of. It just takes ages to turn. Another thing that I noticed with this, it was the same thing when I came out of the garage. You see now it's forcing me to stay in first gear all the way through that mud there. It's something they've done with the way it rev caps it and gear caps it. But the other vehicles mostly were just able to jump straight from like first to third or fourth as they were cutting through there. I was mashing L1 to make it jump up the gears. Yeah, with the same when I came out of the garage as well. It forced this truck to stay in first gear all the way out the garage pretty much until I got onto the racetrack. So I don't know, it's getting a bit over the top with that. But this one's actually got quite a nice pace to it. In theory it should have been one of the best because it's got nice big tyres, so for each revolution of the tyre you kind of cover more distance, and as they've all got the advanced special gearbox, etc., they should all pan out, you know, a similar speed. Yeah, but that shows you, I mean, this was it a 231, I couldn't quite see it there because it shrinks the screen. Yeah, which is pretty nippy. I mean, that shaved 19 seconds off like what the Derry 15C got, and again it's only a sub 3-minute lap, so it's quite a chunk of time really. I couldn't resist in the end. I had to send the goddamn professional just to see. He's got 231 to beat. He's got his roof rack off. Bold loaf. I mean, look at him go though. I've said it before and I'll say it again. The loaf, he's pretty quick. He gets a nice good pace going when he's up to gear, and the nice thing is just the steering's so nice with the loaf. You can thread the needle, nice and precise with him. Does get a little bit leery on this jump, I'll admit. I kind of probably a bit lucky there. I sort of skidded and bled a bit of speed as I came up to the ramp. Yeah, it's a good little jump though. Then across the line, 2 minutes 10, so he wins. He bags it for the day. Yeah, he beat all of them. Certainly a lot quicker than, well, what was that, like 40 seconds quicker than the Derry 15C. So, I mean, that's, yeah, one thing we've learnt is get yourself a loaf, because he's a goddamn professional. I was trying to, then I came to back here. By the way, I got blue screened when trying to load back to Albany River from Burning Mill, so yeah, there's still an issue going on. See, driving along the road there, the pace is fairly normal, probably, you know, within spitting distance of like all the other vehicles. It's when you start, you see when I hit this mud, how slow it goes if you sort of use the lampposts or telegraph poles or whatever in the background to give you an idea of how fast I'm going past them. This thing sort of wades through mud, but I don't know, it's almost as if it's also driving through invisible water. It feels like something extra is holding it back a little bit. Here's the Zix 605R, which is probably, you know, all round like one of the best trucks for the advanced special gearbox and all that sort of stuff. I'd say this is what the Derry is competing with. It does look like it slows down a bit there as it gets into the mud, but then it picks up the pace again better. And I think just driving along here, it's subtle, it's hard to explain, but I definitely know there's something there because of just how much longer it takes to get anywhere with the Derry. Yeah, this thing, even through mud, it kind of just picks its revs and torque back up and like ploughs along. This thing, I even took it back to the garage, took off the spare wheel, the saviour guard thing around it, the roof rack, and again, I mean, look, it just bleeds all its speed as soon as you hit the mud. And then it sort of attempts to get it back a bit, but it's kind of, yeah, feels like you're fighting something, and I don't know, it just, eventually it goes about that slow, which, for being in like 5th gear, I don't know, yeah, it's sort of somewhere between sort of clutch slipping, wading through water, or I don't know, that just something's holding it back anyway, which is a bit of a shame because I'd like to use it more. I mean, for shorter videos it's not too bad, but yeah, just for doing the longer videos, I'll end up making the video anyway for that lost cargo, because I forgot that yesterday I did actually finish that lost cargo mission, and I took the Derry and the loaf to the quarry and dropped off these concrete slabs I had to get. So yeah, I've already sort of just, I've done it. I can't really start the mission again because I've already done it. It's ticked off the list. But yeah, it doesn't really matter because I can edit here, there and everywhere and just keep it to like raw footage where I'm actually getting a bit of a move on. But yeah, I mean, that's from testing it tonight. It's clearly one of the slowest. It got the slowest time out of all of them. That's it, really. I wish it was a bit quicker, but it's not. That kind of confirms it. Yeah, hopefully they give it a tweak. But anyway, that's about it for today though. I hope you enjoyed, I hope it helps. Thanks for watching, thanks to our Patreon members. Get yourself a loaf, and I'll be back soon.